Hello everyone, this is Darryl20 and welcome to episode 75 of Darryl20's Let's Play of FTB Evolution. Today's plan, SPS time. So I wanted to come here first so I can easily pop back home, and then I'm gonna copy and paste my SPS setup dude in here. Boom. And then I should be able to load my copy and paste gadget. Boom. And then we should be able to go back to where I was. Boom. And then we should be cool to do our SPS. So let me like rotate you a little bit because I don't think that'll probably be a problem. I hope it won't be a problem. Looks cool, right? How do we feel about that? Ready to rock? I assume so. Though it didn't actually form. Is there some trick here? Did I miss something with you? Oh, did I not have enough reactor glass? That could be the problem. There you go. Strange. Either way, SPS ready to rock. Sweet. Let's get a flux point here. I'm going to connect you to the generators network, which in theory should be cool. Like, it'll build up a buffer here, and that'll be okay. Because I really don't want to drain from our main battery to process this stuff, right? I really liked what I did in ATM10. Gosh, I wish I remembered. Luckily, it's recorded, so I can probably go find out. But basically, I want to think about how that worked. I'm going to make you run with a normal signal, and I'm going to make you run with a... I'll leave you ignored, because plutonium should never really be running until, stuff. I'm going to give you a laser. If I'm not mistaken, what this should mean now is that you'll build up polonium, possibly? Where's all my plutonium at? Oh, you probably overheated, didn't you? Yeah, that makes sense. Turn back on, please. Cool. And not for nothing, I'm going to leave you off for now, but we definitely have to solve the polonium buffer problem, and that problem will be easy to solve. Basically, it's going to look like this. We're going to get a radioactive waste barrel, and we're going to stick you on top of this dude. And you know how you normally like go in here? Okay. This is going to actually be like a really good demonstration of how this is going to work. We're going to add to the waste barrel as like an overflow. Okay. So what we're going to do is you're going to have that, but you're going to be like a low priority. Oh, you're round robining, aren't you? Yeah, probably a problem. I guess we don't want a round robin. So let's turn off the round robining of you. And now you'll follow the rules of what's important, right? So you'll build up, but then on the same token, we're going to extract, right? And then you'll drain from there. Cool. So now here's what'll happen. When it's nighttime, or in a few minutes by virtue of the fact that we are backstuffing this in order to start processing it here, it's always inserting into this machine, but now we've got a nice buffer of like a decent size waste barrel. And when this is full, it'll start going in here. But then once this has room again, it'll start draining from here and be good. And that'll cover us over nighttime. Okay. So that should be cool. Now I did this cool setup, right? Didn't I do a cool setup where I transferred the stuff from here into a radioactive waste barrel that basically sat here, right? And then we like censored it with laser IO. Didn't I do all that? Is that what I did last time? We're gonna find out. I don't remember how I did it last time, but that seems like it would work to me, right? So I hope sensors work, right? So let's find out together. I don't know if sensors work, but we're gonna figure that out. So basically, you're gonna be that colorish, which is kind of polonium-y. I guess it's more greenish than blue. So I'm gonna reduce the blue and bump up the green. Yeah, that's more green, but whatever, right? So you're gonna insert your polonium over here, right? Oh, that's right. You need to be all on the top or bottom. Right? So on the up, how's that look? That's pretty darn close, right? On the up, you're going to insert polonium on white, but then you're going to extract it on orange when you have a signal on orange. Okay? And then over here, you will insert on orange. And then on the up, you will have a sensor for polonium. How do I get you added to the sensor? It's an exceptional question. There's no way to get polonium into the thing, is there? There is from mechanism, there's like the dropper, is that what it's called? Can you do polonium? I'm assuming you can't, right? Guess not. How could I censor polonium? There's got to be a way. I'm surprised I can't drag that, but I guess that functionality wasn't really... No, that's interesting. It lets me drag, but that's probably a my mod problem, more so than any other. So what we could do is some kind of other sensor, but man, I'd love to be able to censor that. It works if you have a gauge dropper, but you can't get a gauge dropper of polonium because it's considered a radioactive material. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. That would have been cool. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna have to think that through. But as you will note, by the way, filling up waste barrel. Doing a good job. Right? And that's cool. Alright, so let's do this. Let's have it be... Let's have it be such that you're going to insert there, but then we're going to have some kind of sensor. I think a redstone comparator works. We can make this like real simple. We throw 2 redstones, and then we do that. Okay. And then instead of a sensor, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to be linked to there. And on the east, you will extract, and your side config will be set to output there as well. Output. There you go. Right, so now you're getting polonium, and then you're emitting 1, and you're emitting 2. So we're going to have a redstone input on purple and a redstone input on orange. Like that, right? So like basically what I want to do is when they're both on, turn it on, and then when they're both off, turn it off. Is that fair? You know what I could do? I'm going to do this with an RF Tools logic dude. Okay. So we're going to do this like so. Okay, you ready for this? Okay. When okay, when B is on and C is off, we want you to be keep. All right. When B is on and C is on, we want you to be on, right? And then when B is off and C is off, we want you to be off. So basically, when you're both off, turn off the signal. When you're both on, turn on the signal. If one is on and one is off, just keep the signal what it's at. Is that cool? I like that plan. And then you will be an import on orange because that will tell you when to send to the thing, right? And then you're going to be on orange on the, oh, you already have that, cool. Cool? So you're going to keep filling, and then once polonium hits a certain threshold, of which I do not know, enough to make this thing be like, oh, glowy glow. Right? So like you're on, you're not on yet, but you will be in a minute, right? So once that triggers on, it'll turn this on, and it'll keep it on until they're both off. So that way we don't do the flickering thing that I really, really hate. It's got to be close, right? I would assume. At some point soon, you're going to be enough that you're doing a redstone signal of 3 here. And once that happens, this will cook on. And it'll stay on until 0. Right? I wonder what percentage it is that it's going to do that at. Because I'd love to know the number so I don't have to sit here and stare at it and come back when we're close. But I wasn't exactly paying attention. But I think we'll find out soon, right? At what point did we threshold from? So like 54-ish was 11%. Right? And then so if we call it like 4 or 5% per percentage point. Yeah. So soonish. Come back when it flicks on. How's that? Oh, it just flicked on. And you should be an extract. Aha! Look, it worked. Cool. And then once it gets all the way to 0, right? So, like, we're going to burn through this all really quick, I suspect. Let's put you to a ignore bypass limit. Right? And then you should be burning through that stuff pretty quickly, I expect. Or am I crazy on that point? Are you still, like, gaining polonium? How's that possible? Oh, indeed. I thought we'd be, like, tearing through this stuff, and we're, like, not. We're actually still gaining? Like, are we not processing? Process rate 0.003 millibuckets per tick. I guess I need a lot more power going into this dude. Which, fair, but, like, wow. Now, out of curiosity, what if I put you on mine? Definitely not the right course of action here. Yeah, we're going to need a lot more power to process this. But at least we're, like, kind of getting somewhere, right? Now, if I want to make this with this, we're going to need 2 antimatters, is that right, for the crafting? Yes. So to make the antimatter, we're going to need a chemical crystallizer. Oh, and we might be out of fluorite. It was on my to-do list to note that we were getting low on fluorite. That's why we have these dudes. You're in block, but let's get 2 more gammas for this. And at some point between episodes, I did this to make things just go a little bit faster. At some point, you'll back stuff. And then you'll start doing over here. Is that cool? Cool. How am I doing for uranium, by the way? Because I bumped up some stuff. Ah, we're not good on uranium either. Okay, cool. Fair enough. Is this going to take me back to my... It is. Good. Cool. So we're probably choking on uranium a bit. We're choking on fluoride a bit. We're going to have to definitely address that at some point. But we're going to be low on uranium production for a good minute or two. While I... Temporarily, I'm just going to tick accelerate you, but we're going to have to ramp up uranium production in some way, shape, or form. Is it you who's uranium? Cool. You're going to make a bunch of combs, right? Just putting that out there. Yeah. We'll let it all cook. Just going to be a minute. So, at least we'll, like... So there's a quick way to get a lot of uranium, right? Look how fast it goes. Like, when you tick accelerate one hive, like, you get, like, such a backlog. It's almost hilarious how much you get. The problem is processing it all fast enough. And having to occasionally come over and tick accelerate it. But, like, once we get these guys upgraded to Omegas, it might be even better. I don't think there's a better version of it. And then also, we could do the Souls thing, if we so choose. I also want to get these guys to Speedier 2. I'm hoping Speedier 2 is, like, really good. And if it's not, we'll just have to make more heated centrifuges, kind of like we did over here. Is that fair? So with that said, we should be able to get our chemical crystallizer placed here. We can get our flux point, universal cables. You're eventually going to make the anti-proteonic nucleator dude there. You can be a direwolf's network. Right? And then you're going to be, I assume this is a antimatter. And then we want you doing that. And then we've got antimatter in here. Nice. So we just need to wait for, like, you know, 1,000 of it to make the antimatter pellet, and we're cool. Shouldn't take too long. My only concern is I am not producing enough power. That said, we could come over here and kick this dude into gear. And I assume you'd be producing power for us. And then how'd that work out? But you know what? I don't think my whole area there is chunk loaded. It is now, though. Are you really that full? No, you're running. Sweet. Are you keeping up? Seems like you might be. Now remember, you're only set to 250 at the moment, but that's still 5 times as fast as the other one. He might be keeping up. You know what the problem might be? You might not be set to bypass limit, and maybe not you either. Oh, you are. So that's cool now. $11 million FE per tick. Granted, we're also producing a lot more nuclear waste, but, like, cool beans? Should get there eventually. I guess the real question now is, are we maintaining... Are we producing enough fissile fuel to keep this going? Because it feels like we might be, and that's a little surprising to me. I would not have expected that this setup would be able to maintain both reactors with fissile fuel, but, like, it is? Right? And that's a little surprising to me, that they're both running. I guess, like, the whole, like, this thing being 32x makes that possible. Would not have expected. That said, still need to, like, really look at... Well, first off, charcoal is getting, I'm gonna call lowish. Right? So we gotta worry about charcoal, and then we gotta worry about uranium and fluorite. But everything else kind of cool. So at this point, it's just about, like, making sure we're producing each of these materials well enough. Now, in fairness, we could also throw coal down here instead of charcoal, because we do have a coal thing, and we do have a spot for another one. We only would have to... I don't think we need Certus Quartz Crystal, or we do? We kind of do. I mean, we have a lot of it, to be fair, but I think we want to, like, continue to have a lot of it. So I might need another block breaker just for... or I could, like, replace emerald. Because I doubt we're ever going to need more emeralds than we currently have. We have 101,000 of them. Probably going to be enough for a while. What I should do is make sure, at the very least, that you guys are all being cool about stuff. So that you're not, like, sitting here being silly. Yeah, see, you're not even close to full with the two. Yeah, we're actually good here. Okay, we'll let that continue to be its thing. Yeah, so maybe coal down there instead of charcoal, but we still have to address fluorite production, obviously, and uranium production. I can only come over here and tick accelerate this thing, you know, manually. In fairness, I could automate the time wand because I checked, and the configuration for time wand automation is in the pack. Like, look how much. Look, we're still processing the radioactive combs from a while ago. That's where we're at, folks. Remember when I tick accelerated like a long time ago? We're still processing all that. That's really funny, actually. All right, let me let this do its thing. We'll come back in a few. In theory, though, we should be at this point really close to... Look, we're already like a tenth the way there. It won't be too long at this pace to get antimatter. And I could probably even ramp up the reactor in here from 250 to like 500 or something. I'm just saying that's like possibly an option. See, we're lower on fissile fuel now, but we also ran out of fluorite. So like, I suspect what happened is we got low on fluorite and nothing's been running for a minute. But once it finishes processing all the uranium, it's going to process all the fluorite combs, and then we'll be back to making uranium. And that's why we're low. Hopefully we'll have a net gain of production, assuming we can keep up with raw material demand, which I think we could probably manage to make happen. Souls might be in our future. Souls might be in our future. We'll see. So yeah, fluorite's happening now. All right, back in a few. Actually, we're pretty close to wrapping up point, so why don't we do that? Let's wrap up here. We'll come back next episode and have to ramp up, you know, fluorite and uranium production. But for now, Dial 20 sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.